anything you want to ask? Anything you want to know?
Is my uterus gonna fall out of my vagina?
No.
Okay, good.
Your uterus will stay inside. So, yay.
Yeah, a win
All
for
right.
the day.
Yeah. Woo! Welcome to Age Lust, a podcast where we share uninhibited stories about aging, desire, and wisdom. We focus on quality of life issues like sex, hormones, and the messiness of getting older and anything and everything you might consider TMI. I'm your host, Jessica Podonsky, a double board certified family nurse practitioner and menopause provider. I'm passionate about creating a community where we talk about embracing our gray hair, or even waxing it off down there, and how you're never too old to get an STI. And if you do, write me and we'll talk about it. While I am a medical professional, I am not your medical professional. Always consult with your healthcare team before making any changes. So look, I'm always like so impressed when I see people with makeup. It's just so
Well,
impressive.
I had to do radio on Sirius XM this morning, and even though it's radio, they film it
Right,
and
right.
then they do social media pictures. So I had to do it.
I know, but it's always so impressive to me.
To even, I mean, this is as much as I can do. I have no other skills other than this. This is the maximum.
But that's really impressive to me. Do you want to know? Let me tell you my makeup
I love it. Yeah.
situation. I just got tinted moisturizer, but I didn't use it. And then I got this thing that's like a pot, and then you do like it's red. So like I put it on my cheeks a little bit, and then I put it on my lips a little bit, and I do mascara.
That's amazing.
That's it. But I always like I tried to do an eyebrow. It's just when it just I don't know. But I'm so impressed. I used to love to watch my mother do her makeup all the time.
Yes. Well, my grandma was one of those ladies that would never leave the house without
A
the
face.
full helmet hair and the face. And I think the face would take her like an entire episode of The Price is Right. And
Oh,
then she could leave the house for the day.
yeah. See, but here's my thing. Did it stop you all from getting what you needed to do done? Or like she just did that so she
Right.
was like prepared.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, yeah, as a kid, I feel like the day did not start until she was done with that. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, like we got breakfast and things like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, once my grandma was ready, then it was like really just running errands to like almost like that 1950s housewife. Like we went to the grocery store, we bought all the ingredients to make dinner that night.
Yeah.
Then maybe there was a lunch after that. Then, maybe another, a post office errand.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, she was doing her work.
She
She
was
was
doing
doing
her work.
her work, which,
Yeah.
okay, so let me introduce you.
Okay.
So this is Age Lust, right? And this is Monika Casey. And Monika Casey was kind enough to invite me on Divorce Party, your podcast about divorce. And I went over my whole trauma drama story. And then I thought one of the things that popped up is that we talked a little bit about perimenopause and aging and like what was going on. And so I thought, why don't come on to my podcast
Yes.
and let's chit chat about all things. But I just want to talk about like getting older, which is
Yeah.
interesting, right? Because we started talking about makeup and this whole idea of well, like the thing that pops into my head is, honoring women's work and that is, I had a whole relationship with makeup where I only started to appreciate it with my teenage daughter who's now 20 because she like kind of gave me a stern talking to and she's like, this is my creative expression. This is how I want to express myself. And I feel really empowered that way. And I thought, well, let me shut the hell up. Let me
Yeah.
shut the absolute hell up. Anyway, you are here. Monika is here, and we're starting with makeup.
I
But
love it. Well, I have a daughter who's 9,
yeah,
and I mean, that's so interesting because I never, as a teen, I never expressed myself with makeup. Maybe it was more clothing. So I never had that sort of battle with my mom, or why are you, maybe what some moms are probably like, why are you not going to the house like that? Or what are you doing that for? I don't know. I was always more natural about it. But as I've gotten older, I appreciate it as a form, almost in a sense of art, where it's like, oh, you want to create a mood or a look, or if you're going to a certain, you could be a kind of a character, almost like,
Yeah.
and as far as, acting, it's just a different expression of who you want to be that day. And my daughter, who's 9, like we really only just played with makeup during lockdown because what else were you going to do all day? And she would mostly just, we would make each other look like some sort of demon.
Yeah.
But now she's, I know she's seen some of those videos, and I mean they even pop up on my Instagram where, like you said earlier, everything is like, you can use this 5 different ways, and you do it here and you do it here,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then everybody does like the gentle pats and they make it look so elegant and easy. And I'm usually like sweating my balls off trying to pull off one of those things I've seen. And I'm like, I'm not doing it right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. They do the whole thing. But you know what I was thinking? I have an 8-year-old as well. I was an older mom with my last one. And she was saying how her friend has like um skincare. And I thought, what the fuck is that? Like what do you need skincare for? Like you're a baby. You're absolutely
Yeah.
an absolute baby. Like and it's this whole concept of, I guess it's like, what are they doing that for exactly? Like, you know,
Hmm.
is it, are they like getting onto this anti-aging bullshit? Like, there's
Right.
no anti-age, like what are they trying to be, fetuses? I'm confused as to what's going
Yeah,
on.
because I mean, in my opinion, unless you've got some sort of acne problem showing up, I don't see where you would really need skincare, I guess, until your teens.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that is weird. I mean, there's already these like beauty birthday parties for kids. We went to one last year and the gift bag was skincare. And although it was vegan and all of that, it's still just like 8 different things of crap. And I mean, I think she played with it for like a day and then
Said
that
forget
was
it.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but and it's funny, my mom gave me my first skincare. I think I was 11 or 12. Definitely had already gotten my period, so it was like the woman phase. And I remember her saying, if you want to be an actress, you need to take care of your face. And that's how it was introduced to me. It wasn't really,
She
it
wasn't
was,
wrong.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's genetics, but I mean, I did okay.
Yeah.
So, and I remember it was, I want to say it was like Almay or something,
Yeah, yeah,
probably
yeah.
sort of like, MLM. I don't know if Almay is, sorry if I'm
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah. I think Almay is like a regular
Like a
drugstore.
drugstore. Yeah.
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 Wow. So
But it
you
was,
wanted to act. You knew even that when you were a kid, a little
yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you thought that's what I want to do?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously growing up as mostly an only child, television was my babysitter and
Yeah.
movies, and I
Yeah.
watched a lot of things that I had no business watching, which
Me
they knew I
too.
was watching, but
Yeah.
that's how we were raised. But I remember, I want to say it was kindergarten or first grade. They were doing the night before Christmas play, and somebody got sick and dropped out, and they were like, "Oh my God, we need somebody to be the dad." And I guess the dad was also like the narrator, however my school did it, and nobody would raise their hand. So I did. And I somehow learned the dialogue and I showed up and they painted a mascara mustache on my top lip and I did it and everybody cheered. And I think it's that same like, oh, it's applause, it's attention. It was something I wasn't getting at home,
Yeah. Yeah.
probably. Most likely. And so I loved that attention. And I feel like I've always been a performer, some sort of ham, just,
Yeah.
yeah.
How do you feel, since I mean, I think it's a really powerful statement. So my mom is an actor, right? So
Mhm.
I grew up in the business, just like being the kid.
Yeah.
Um, and I think You saw that? Did you see that, like that Amy Schumer thing, your last fuckable day? Have you ever seen that?
Oh, I think is it the one where they're even in the boardroom and they're like, but is she fuckable? Or is
No,
this a
no, no.
different
This is
one?
the one where she like is walking and all of a sudden, like Patricia Arquette and Julie Louis-Dreyfus
Oh,
and
yes, at like a
Amy,
park or
they're in the
something.
park and they're like, "What are
Yes.
you doing? Like, what is this party you're having?" And they're like, "Well, it's Julia Louis-Dreyfus's last fuckable
Oh,
day."
shit.
And like I think about that, just in terms of the aging space and how our fertility is really tied to our value in this
Yeah.
world. And then also this kind of like what, like how in your industry that you're in, how it's even more so, as opposed to like civilians like me. And when you are literally in an industry that you walk into an audition and your ability to do the work has nothing to do with it if you don't have what they're looking for as your physical look.
Uh-huh.
I
I
don't
think
know.
that's it's like a miracle that anything gets made. It's a miracle that anyone gets cast because yeah, the look, whatever they are looking for, yeah, like five women could do the same job just as well, their own interpretation. But yeah, it just comes down to just some of the weirdest reasons and things. And I also feel like in this weird industry, unless you were brought in as a child and a child actor, it's even weirder and harder and crazier in
Yeah.
terms of the whole aging and where you're at and how they look at you. And they're like, oh, well, you didn't have, three series under your belt before 21. Like, we don't think we can help you or do anything for you.
It's you have to have such a strong skin in a certain way, and so many actors don't.
Yeah.
The constant, like you are told no on a daily basis. No, no, no.
Yeah.
And then the whole concept of like, I don't know if people even care about this shit, but like the whole concept of like auditioning and then you're just kind of like ghosted. You didn't get the job
Yeah.
if you just like never hear back
I
again.
think that's really one of the only reasons why I can still proceed to do it is the ghosting because it's nobody saying to your face, like, that was fucking terrible.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
sucked at that. Like, you should never do. When you hear those stories where they're like, so and so told me I'll never make it and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, it's quite the opposite. You just hear nothing. And maybe that maybe the worst is your own inner monologue about whether you can do it
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, people ask me that all the time. And I'm like, no, you just literally don't hear anything. And it's like, you don't even know if they watched your audition, especially now with self tapes, you have no idea. And you just go about your day and you have to let it go. And I guess it's an exercise in not taking things personally.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess so. I guess that's the way to kind of turn it around. That like if you don't hear by 5 o'clock tonight or whatever,
Yeah.
they told you like
Yeah.
like release it. You're done
Because
with it.
it could be 5 o'clock tonight or 2 weeks from now. And you're like, I've already forgotten about that. But yay, I got it. It's just
Yeah.
the weirdest thing.
Yeah. So what do you think about aging in this industry and doing, because you do a lot of things, right? So you
Yeah.
act, but then you have your own podcast and then
Podcast.
you're doing the radio show. So
I
what's your thought? Like, do you want to say how old you are?
oh hate it. Yeah, let's just say I'm in the 40 to 45 box.
Yeah. And do you see, even to say like I
Even to
hate it?
say it hurts. I
Yeah.
know. And I
I'm
have so
52.
oh my gosh,
Yeah, I'm
amazing.
52. I
And
just tell people.
yeah, I guess it like depends on what day it is because some days I'm like, I feel the best I've ever felt. Like I love myself more than I ever have. And then maybe because of hormones or whatever, I have a day where I'm like, this is dark,
Yeah.
like I remember from like lockdown and COVID or whatever, just thinking, and this is so shallow, but I just remember thinking, well, fuck, there goes another year of my life as a viable, let's say, younger woman in
Yeah.
this town or in my life that's just like gone. And how am I gonna compete or how am I gonna still I don't know, like bring something to the table. I don't know. I mean, because
Yeah.
on one hand, I know the older I get, the more experiences, the more life I have. And I'm like, oh, that's a lot. That's bringing a lot to the table. But like some days it's a struggle, some days it's like a blessing. I always try to say, like, thank, like the universe or God or whatever, like, hey, I have an able body. I'm healthy. Like, there's so many things that, like, every day I wake up now, even I think of it as like a blessing, like, holy shit, I woke up again, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Which is, I think this is the thing that pops into my mind listening to you. It's I know for myself when I was turning 50, 40 I was excited about. I was good with it. I was really okay with 40. But 50, that was the only time I ever broke down. And I was
Mm.
just fucking, I collapsed. I was so sad. I was so fucking sad about turning 50. I thought this is absolute bullshit. Because I remember sitting on a train with this woman who told me that I have no clue what we were talking about. But we're on the subway and she said, well, everything was fine till I turned 50 and then everything fell apart. And I thought, holy fuck. Because my mother had always said 30 life gets good, at
Mhm.
40 life gets hot. And it had been true, right? All my 40s were pretty hot. And then I
Okay.
thought the bitch left out 50, right? Like,
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know. And then this woman's telling me it's a total disaster. And I literally broke down. But the thing, like when you talk about waking up and being happy and acknowledging like the strength that your body has and the fact that you're present at that moment and you're able to, I'm like just thinking what you're thinking, right?
Yeah.
Like you're able to like care for your kid and show up to your job and do your work and be valuable. Like that is the truth. And then there's this male gaze that even if you're a person whose body is not interested in male bodies, right?
Mhm.
The world is constantly around this male. Like I'm so sick of hearing men talk and I'm so sick of hearing them like run shit. I just want them to shut the fuck up, sit down, be quiet, don't tell us what to do with our bodies, and do
Yeah.
not tell us what you think a high value woman is and blah 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 blah. Just shut up. You've
Yeah.
already fucked up the world. And I give credit to the women in Korea who are doing that 4B movement. Do you know about that?
No, what is that?
Oh my God. Wait, let me just look it up really quickly because I
Tell
don't want
me.
to. So my daughter was talking about it. 4B movement. Hold on.
God. North
Movement.
Korea, South Korea, all
Yeah,
of Korea.
so it's the 4B movement. Four No's is a feminist movement that said it's supposed to have started in South Korea in 2019. And they are like, here it is, no sex with men, no child rearing, no dating men, no marriage with men. These are what these
Sounds
four.
like that. Isn't it like a Greek play or tragedy where the women withhold sex
Oh, right,
for
right, right. Isn't that the whole thing with Helena and the Trojan
Yeah,
horse
yeah.
and all that? Well, so these women started this and it seems to be working. It seems to be working. And I'm not saying that we need to necessarily do that here. And,
Yeah.
but I get it. Like I get it because this is what is stopping us. And this is what's making like our little girls want to have skincare,
Mhm.
right? It's like, what is this? Because I don't know,
I
like,
want to get back to you turning 50.
yeah.
What do you think made you like fall apart about turning 50? Was it like some goals that you feel like you haven't achieved yet? Because I feel like that's what my freakouts are, even though I know we're not supposed to put a number on an age number on achievements because there's so many people that do later in life, but that's where I beat myself up. So I'm wondering what you were beating yourself up about.
I think it was that. I think it was that the change in my body, the change in my hormones. I've always been a very physically strong person. I used to be a bodybuilder. Like
Amazing.
yeah, I used to be really physically strong, and I just felt like things just were not. It's like you do all the right things, and like you are waking up and you have hip pain,
Yeah.
and it was that, and it was a sense of accomplishment, like not feeling like I had lived up to the promise. of
Mhm.
whatever that should be, right? Which is also very much maybe like masculine kind of bullshit that possibly I buy into. Um, but yeah, I think it's that. I think it's saying that you're 50 is like cute if you've got like a team behind you like Halle Berry and like
Yeah,
Jennifer Lopez and you know
totally. Yeah.
like then it's like all cute, but when you're a normal human being
Yeah.
who's like working a full-time gig, trying to find some creativity to express themselves, and you've got your family, it was really hard. It was just really hard. And I think, yeah, there was that sense of not being where I had hoped I had been, but would have been, or, and
Yeah.
also, and how much time do I have, right? How much
Yeah.
time do I have to do that? Like my oldest was saying to me, she was asking something about, she was doing her financial aid, and she's like, well, I don't remember what it was. It might have just been like,
Like, is
you
it
know,
like, how much do you make a year?
no,
So
no,
I
no,
or
no. It was like this. It might have been like, what are you doing Tuesday? But she said to me, like, when will you be done working? And something to that effect. I said, when I'm dead. Like, I can never retire. When I'm dead,
yeah.
it's when I'm done. And she's like, it's Tuesday. Like, what time on Tuesday? That kind of thing.
Mom, I just said that to someone the other day too. We were talking about finances or something like that, and I have a friend who is very smart, and she's somehow, reinvesting her money and day trading or doing things that I will never understand. And I was so impressed by that, and I was like, "Well, Jesus, I know I'm never going to be able to retire. Like I will." Work till the end because to survive and live in this world. I don't know how people, that's another weird overwhelming feeling I get sometimes is like what it takes just to live a somewhat comfortable life and how expensive everything is.
Yeah.
And you just get overwhelmed. Like, how can I possibly stay on top of it? And one of my other side gigs that I do is I will organize for people and like their, homes or offices and things like that. And ever since I started doing that, I'm like, this is physical labor. I am so exhausted after, it's another thing. And it's like, how can my body you just start to notice things are more difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Like I
think,
just want to be home on the couch on my free time. I just wanted that new term rotting, even though I know that's, I have a sense of humor about it.
yeah.
That's like I want nothing more than to just rot on my couch when I can.
Yeah, you want it to be a choice eventually,
Yeah.
that if you keep working, you're working because you can and
Yeah.
because you want to, and not because you have to, in order,
Yes.
otherwise you're eating fucking cat food.
Yeah.
And that like that's the image, right? Of like the older woman eating
Yes, with
cat
like
food.
the hunchback and like my feet are so big that they're like bread loaves coming out of my shoes and I've
Yeah.
like can barely pull my cart across the crosswalk. Like that's the real
And the
fear.
whiskers and the
Yeah.
long
And I
white
remember going
whiskers.
to therapy once and I was like, I'm scared that I'm gonna be homeless one day. And she was like, Monica, every person that sits in my office that tells me their biggest fear is like, their whole life's falling apart and they're gonna be homeless one day are the least people that will be their fate.
Right, right, right. Because you would just do anything that we need to do in order to make. I
Yeah.
have that fear too. It was hard. That 50 was
Yeah.
hard. And I think like with this 4B, I just want to be really clear. I'm not suggesting that we do that here, but if it works, it works. Like
Hmm.
if it gets people to like straighten up and act right, then I'm kind of all for it a little bit. But I still
Yeah.
like the dick. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. I feel like my best friend and I talk about all the time where we're just like, I mean, we would be the perfect couple, but we just don't like vagina,
Yeah,
We
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
don't.
yeah.
And I know some women now, more women, but I personally know now like a couple that she called it wifing up, but
Yeah,
non-sexually. So
yes.
they live together, they raise their kids together, and then they go out and date and go on vacations and have boyfriends with men, but their family is this sort of set up thing.
That's like Kate and Allie. There used to be a TV
Yes,
show that
I
Kate and Allie,
remember.
that's what they did. And the funny thing about that, like, I think that's a brilliant idea, honestly. And I actually wanted to talk about this and I want to talk a little bit about friendships. But I was thinking, I was listening to this one podcast called Our Better Halves. Everyone should listen to it. It's about sex and aging. And I'm on one of the episodes, but this one was
Awesome.
talking about a this nurse who actually is a therapist and she helps older people in poly relationships. And I thought, like, I even told my mother, she's in her 80s, and I was like, look, I think you need to be in a poly relationship at this point. We need to get you like all booed up with like a couple or a
Okay.
throuple or a
Yep.
thruple or whatever, because then like that'll take some burden off of me. You'll get the attention you need, you know,
Yeah.
and like all the loving that you crave.
Yeah.
And I think and I also have a friend who, I know the person who's actually my buddy is like she's married to a man
Mhm.
and but this close community of women that she has, she refers to them, they travel together, they do stuff together. And I love that idea of kind of creating home with your best friend,
Mhm.
or this person that is going to be a ride or die, and then going out, like I am all for it. That sounds perfect.
Yeah, like it's
That
also like
sounds,
the Golden Girls
yeah,
aspect, I
yeah,
keep these things keep popping up on my feed about women buying land or pulling their money to buy a
yeah.
house and having, and if you have the right people, I think it's so great.
So what do you think about friendships in your 40 to
Yeah.
45, you said 40 to
Yeah,
45
40 to
range?
45. Yeah, I have the best friendships I've ever had.
Yeah.
It's taken 40 to 45 years to get it because I also had to learn how to be a good friend. And part of that, a lot of that I attribute to the therapy that I did for years because I, for so long, was never able to show up for my friends because I
Mm.
wasn't used to, I think, the adults in my life or whatever showing up for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it was very one-sided, call it being a narcissist for a while or whatever. But like I just didn't know how to like, I don't know, just kind of be that like I hate to say ride or die, it's so cheesy, but just be a good friend to people. Show up when you say you're going to, be there to celebrate their wins and their losses and tragedies and things like that. And I truly believe that it's quality, not quantity. I think I have five really close good friends, girlfriends, and I have a lot of acquaintances and people, but and as I get older, I constantly have to practice like boundaries with people
Mm.
that aren't in that close group, for
Yeah,
my own sanity.
yeah. Do they know each other or are they all
Yes. Yeah,
separate?
they do. It's funny because they're all from different, like my very best friend I met on the first day of college, and then the others are friends that I've met through different jobs or experiences in LA, and then just slowly over time and like inviting my different friends to things, they've kind of all bonded. It's really funny during like the whole COVID thing. For one of my birthdays, we all went out to the desert and we went to this place called the Integratron. Have you heard of that?
Uh-uh, uh-uh.
It's amazing. Look it up. It's basically this white dome out in Joshua Tree that some scientist was abducted by aliens and the aliens told him to build it. And he used to work for Howard Hughes and all these things. But anyway, and they do sound baths there.
Oh,
And so then that night we all went and we were just like, having dinner outside. And I don't even know how it came up, but when you sometimes have one of those like magical, silly, but deep nights with your friends, and we somehow went around the circle and all figured out like, why are we all friends? Like how we're all so different. What is our common theme? And it was really interesting. Our common theme was like our mother trauma.
mm.
And so we were like, oh, we all, that's like our thing, our issue or whatever. And we all, I don't know, I don't even know why I'm telling that story, but I just thought it was
No, yeah.
that's why we all, I don't know, gravitate towards each other.
Yeah, that's really I've found it hard to make friends, honestly. I thought it was like, I think for me, it was, I don't know, maybe because I have no idea. Maybe because I have no idea. But it's been so
So for
that's
you,
been
it's harder.
yeah. Yeah. I
What
don't
about
know.
like man friends?
No.
No.
I mean, I'm very, I have my close friends that I've had for like 30 years kind
Mhm.
of thing. But I found it like with kids and stuff like that, it's just I've never really vibed with, yeah, it's weird. It's
You're
very
about to
weird.
say I've never really vibed with other kids' parents because I feel that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, kind of, sort
I
of, kind of.
always say I'm so glad I had friends before I had kids because
Yeah.
just, ugh.
Yeah, there it's really been, so it's really interesting, and I just actually kind of went away with a friend, and it was not, I was like, oh, this is,
Why did I do this?
yeah, basically I was like, what the actual fuck. I
Oh,
should have just done this shit by myself,
yes.
you know.
When my daughter was like 2.5, some mom friend of mine was like, let's take our girls to a hotel one night and just have a sleepover and just us and our daughters. And it was just the most like nails on a chalkboard experience. Like, watching some, I mean, not to judge, but you're judging like the way
Yeah,
someone else parents their kids
yeah,
or
yeah,
like, oh God, like how are we all gonna like fall asleep? Like their bedtime thing is so different from ours. And then just not being alone and having any alone time. And then like our kids like were licking the mirror in the hotel room and we're like, oh my God. And then my daughter got like hand, foot, mouth. It was the
oh
worst.
God.
And the whole time I'm driving home this next day, I'm like, why? Not only did I just spend money I didn't want to spend, I didn't want to do it. Why did
Yeah,
I do
yeah,
it?
yeah. Like listening to your intuition, which I think
Yes.
is like so fucking important. And that's one thing that I think gets better as you get older. It's
Yeah.
just your intuition becomes so loud and you like willfully ignore it. And you know that you're willfully ignoring it as opposed to just being a dumb knucklehead 20-year-old, you
Yeah, or
know?
just like people pleasing. I mean, I'll
Yeah,
always be a people pleaser to some degree, but
yeah,
and again, I never know when that side of me is going to come out or not, and it can be inappropriate at times or whatever. But yeah, there's that like preemptive, like, nope, nope, I'm not doing it. And I don't care if I seem difficult about, for not wanting to do it, but I'm not doing it.
yeah. No, that's so super important. Tell me about, you were saying about body changes, and we had talked a little bit about perimenopause. Like, what did
Yeah.
you know about perimenopause? Nothing.
Nothing. I don't
Yeah.
think I've heard anything. I mean, from my own family experience, my mom had a hysterectomy at 40, I think electively, but she says it's because my grandmother died of ovarian cancer. So whatever, that's her experience. So I don't, know about menopause from her. I do have older friends that have like joked about it, and I would hear them say, like, oh, when I stayed at your house when you were out of town, I had to put the AC down at night, hot flashes, and you're just like, okay. But I feel like I've definitely noticed waking up a lot more in the middle of the night, hot flashes in the middle of the night. I was on sort of my own hormone therapy for a
Yeah.
while, and I went off of it during COVID. I think also out of like a fear-based, like, I'm not going to be able to afford this anymore, and I don't know what
Yeah.
the world's going to be like. And that I was fine for like 6 months. And then I noticed like even physical things, like not as much muscle tone, the energy, not having energy to do the things. Like I'm one of those crazy doers when I'm in the zone. I love having a checklist of shit to do all day and get it done. And I'm just finding myself be like, oh, fuck it. I don't care. And I'm not doing it. And and
Just
I'm
sit here and sweat.
right. Like even today, I was like, oh fuck, it's tax day. And I
Oh,
fully
shit.
have forgotten to go, and I hope I can get an extension. I don't know. I
Yeah.
was just not on top of it.
Oops. What were you, do you mind me asking, or would you share
Yeah.
what you were
Yeah.
taking, what you were using?
Yeah. So, for a long time, I was on progesterone cream, but
Uh-huh.
all bioidentical,
Yeah.
estrogen on my arms, and then I was taking a peptide. I was taking the CJC, I can never say it right, impermelian or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And I felt amazing when I was on it. I had energy, I was in shape, I slept well. Um, no complaints, no
Right.
bad effects, honestly. And so I just, yeah, so I've been off hormones for a couple of years and I've just started to just, like notice even on, it's so dumb, but like even on my stomach, like, oh, there's like some wrinkly skin by my belly button that was never there. Like, sure, you can have rolls and things like that, but it was like, no, that's just changes and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and even my like my body odor changed too. I was like, oh, my deodorant is not working.
yeah,
And so I like had to find a new brand of deodorant, and I of course use all the natural ones that don't have anything in it. So it's like, you know, you're still gonna sweat, like it's natural, but like I just don't want to smell like a dead body decomposing,
yeah, yeah.
you know.
It's gross. It
Yeah.
was,
And then the periods. So I feel like I was always regular and like there's been times where I've gotten my period twice in a month.
yep, yeah, 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 yeah. And are
And
they heavier?
it depends. Sometimes yes, sometimes it's like very light and you're like, well, does that count? And I have one of those apps. I'm trying to like track it because of course always at some point in your life you go to a doctor and they're like, when was the first day, and you're like, I don't know,
Yeah, right.
let me just consult the oracle. So I've just kind of been, and I have a birthday coming up in June and I was like, I need I need help, and thank God we have it. Thank God we have the technology. Do I know how I'm going to figure out how to pay for these things because they're not cheap? I don't, but I'm a manifester and I'm going to figure it out.
So
And
let me, so do you want it, like, is it the peptide stuff that you're interested in?
oh, so well, yeah. I mean, I definitely, even though we hate our periods so much, like I would like to have it as long as I can. So I think that progesterone, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know, but I think progesterone and all of that helps you stay on the path. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in the peptide. So I did find a new hormone doctor. I'm on week 3 of a different sort of, because I did all my blood work, and it's really interesting when they go line by line with all of your levels and all of the things. And I was significantly low in testosterone. I think a woman my age is supposed to have like a level 10 or something, and I was a 1.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's funny with testosterone, like I always, because I do a small group in New York City,
Uh-huh.
it's very
Yeah.
small. And it's kind of, I like to have a conversation to just figure out, like, when did you feel your best? Was it when you were 20 or was it when you were like 35, 37, 40?
37
Yeah.
to
That's what
forty.
yeah. So that's what I see. So I kind of like think about that, like look at their testosterone and figure out like sex hormone binding globulin. But I
Yeah.
want to say something really quickly about bioidentical and the pricing and how
Okay.
much menopause care is. So bioidentical is a marketing term,
Mm.
period. The estrogen, estradiol, which is the most abundant form of estrogen that we have in our bodies, right? All human beings have it. Men, women,
Mhm.
she, he, they, them, everyone, all human beings. The most abundant form is estradiol. And estradiol that you get at your local pharmacy, that your insurance, if you are lucky enough to have medical insurance, is body identical. It is body identical. It is FDA approved, which means that the FDA can come and go to any pharmacy, grab a patch, like a topical
Uh-huh.
patch or the gel, the commercial brand, it will be body identical. It is soy based, it is plant based, and it is covered by your insurance.
Amazing.
The other thing is that micronized progesterone, which is the weakest form of progesterone, right? And it is also body identical and also covered by insurance. So, depending on how great your insurance is, we're talking about maybe you're spending $30 for both of those a month with your insurance.
That's pretty
So,
great.
I really need to make that really clear because I know a lot of people will go to some of these providers and they'll pay like $400, $500, $600 for a consult, and then they're paying $300 a month on top of it, or whatever that is, like these really outrageous fees in order to maintain it. So I just wanted to make that really
Yeah.
clear. So it
Okay.
is body identical, what the kind of standard conventional therapy, right? And then the other thing, so what progesterone does do, so the thing that goes down first in perimenopause is progesterone, right? Because maybe we're releasing eggs, and when we're releasing the eggs and the follicles have to crack. When the follicles crack, the egg is inside, and that starts this whole process of luteinizing hormones. And then the progesterone is signaled so that we prepare the womb for a baby friend, right? And then the baby friend doesn't come, and then everything's torn down, but we don't make as much progesterone. And that's why we start to have wacky cycles,
Mm.
heavier periods, and for some of us, like massive clotting. Like I would like throw like kumquats would
Oh,
be like shooting
yeah.
out of my body, right? And
Is that what
like that's
I
like,
mean?
yeah. And so
I
then you take the,
remember when I was a teenager, I used to think I was having miscarriages
yeah. This is
from,
the thing too. Yeah.
yeah,
I think when you're young as well, and especially if you have like PMDD, which is premenopausal premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or PMS, it's like a more extreme form. I really do believe that a lot of that does have to do with hormonal balance, and the whole concept is, well, put people on the pill, but what happens when you go on the pill is that something goes up called the sex hormone binding globulin. And here's the crazy thing about that, right? So all of a sudden you're like, I'm gonna go on the pill because I have a boyfriend
yeah,
and we're gonna
yeah.
have sex. And like I'm like, we're totally horny and we're having sex all the time. So I'm gonna get the pill. Then you go on the
Yeah,
pill and then you don't want to have sex anymore because that sex hormone binding globulin goes up and it takes your free testosterone. So the testosterone that's making you feel good and like that's out there and ready to like
right.
do its thing, it grabs onto it, binds to it, and then you can't use it. So the next thing you know, you were so horny for your partner, and then it's gone. The horniness is gone, and it's gone because that sex hormone binding globulin went up. I hope that's helpful.
I mean, yeah, well, it would have been helpful to me when I was a teenager.
Well, that's the thing. That number goes up and it basically stays up as
You
we
know
get
what's weird
older.
though? I always hear, oh, when we're in our 40s, that women having, this crazy sex drive. I feel the opposite. I feel
Yeah.
like I hit my peak of horniness in my 20s.
Yeah. Yeah. That and
I
that
guess
that
it's different for
happens.
everyone.
Yeah. I think that so for a lot of female-bodied people, the whole concept of like I think that the way that we like to engage in sex and express our sexuality changes based on age and stages in our lives, right? So
Yeah.
like maybe you had your baby, and I'm guessing because you did divorce party, you're doing that, you were
Yeah.
married at the time, and
Yeah.
your partner, like you were like, don't fucking touch me because I have this baby that's like sucking on my boobs, if you
Yeah.
breastfed, I don't know,
Yeah, I
or just
did.
touching my body all fucking day. And now you want me to give more, right? You want me to give more.
Mhm.
So it's like you have
Yeah.
that huge transition in your life. Um, I think in our 40s, the idea is like the kids can get dressed, by themselves and do their thing. And like you're making maybe a little more money. Like it's like you've cleared away certain things. You've
Mhm.
still probably got some of that fertility juice, like you're still
Yeah.
like thinking I could make a baby friend, maybe,
And I'm definitely feeling that sadness
Yeah,
that the window is near possibly closing. It's like I hate even saying it out loud because then I feel like it makes it real.
yeah,
Um, because even though am like 90% sure I'm not going to have another child but there's like, you just don't want that opportunity taken away. I don't know,
Yeah.
because it's always been in the back of our minds or our hearts ever since we knew we could make a baby. And so it is sad. And also to have a daughter that's about to begin her puberty journey. I had like a sobbing, crying day a couple weeks ago where it like hit me like, oh, this is happening. Like she's gonna just any day, become a woman, and you're slowly phasing out of that world. And not that it was a bad thing, it was just overwhelming emotion.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that we can't, it's like some people, even myself, there was a huge, like for me in my fantasy sex life, like the concept of getting pregnant was a real, that's like a fetish for some folks. And it wasn't that for me, but like that was a real like turn on, to think like, oh, I could,
Well, and it was
you know,
dangerous,
yeah,
right?
yeah, it
Like,
was, and like now it's like, fuck no, I'd be like giving birth to a thumb, a drooling thumb if I did. Like, no offense to, no, like, fine, I don't give a fuck if you want to be pissed off that I said that, but like, that's like the reality. And I'd be like, I will take the abortion pill immediately at 52 if I got pregnant. Like,
and
I
what's
will.
weird for me is I feel like I would deer in the headlights, not be able to make a choice, and then just have it.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's
Yeah.
and it may be perfect. I have three kids,
Yeah.
three. And like I think
Yeah.
my
Maybe if I
children would
had
be
three, my
like,
answer would be different.
they'd be like, what the fuck? And also I'm so exhausted. Like I think at 52, I have 10 more like hardcore years of parenting ahead of
Mm,
me,
yeah.
right? Because I have an 8-year-old, so I've got 10 more
10 more years of
hardcore years.
patience,
Yeah.
lots of patience.
Yeah, and but I get that feeling of sadness that
Yeah.
it's that choice again has been taken away. But it's also like how much, there's this whole kind of um for me, I'm just talking about me, like there's this whole kind of, it reminds me a lot of like being like very woo-woo about things and being very logical about things. And the same thing happens when I think of concepts of like feminism or womanism, because I don't consider myself feminist, it's more womanism, like, and like, that as opposed, and also being really into being maternal and all that shit. And like, I like it when I'm pregnant and I feel sexy and I turn
Yeah.
myself on. It's that whole back and forth of weighing, but and there are lots of people, right, who feel the exact same way, or like, I'm not going to possibly have that opportunity to get pregnant again, if I wanted to, if you met like the right person. I don't know if you're dating or not dating or what your situation is, but like, yeah, that's rough. I actually even know somebody whose husband had a vasectomy, and she was like, I'm not, it took her a minute because she's like, I don't, that's like, what you're shooting blanks now. This is not fun
Yeah.
anymore. This is not dangerous. This is not.
It's weird. Yeah, for so much of our life. I mean, it was like, do we need to take a pregnancy test? Like, I'm a couple days late. That like whether you were excited about it or not, it's always been this thing.
Yeah. And so now they've recreated it by like that big company, Clear Blue Easy, now has a perimenopause thing.
Oh, you pee on a stick and it
You
tells you.
pay for 21 days. Don't buy it. Don't
I'm
buy
not
it.
going to.
Okay. Do not buy it. But you pee on a stick. Yeah. For like 21 days or something. And then it's like, look,
21 days. I feel like I can't do anything for 21 days in a
I
row.
know, I
Like,
know. It's like real commitment. It's like
yeah.
real absolute commitment. But for those people who like love that stick kind of, I wonder if there's that like remembrance of
Yeah,
like
that
getting
could
the
be
stick.
like an art show in New
Yeah.
York, like just art out of old pregnancy sticks.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Build a
Yeah, a
statue like
statue of
that.
a woman out of
Yeah.
pregnancy EPT or whatever that
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
called.
yeah, exactly. Where half of them not pregnant, not pregnant, not pregnant.
Yeah.
I wonder if they change.
And
If
as
they,
the batteries die, the statue's beeping.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think okay, so we'll call somebody to make that.
Right?
Well,
Can we
what's
get a
her name?
grant?
Huh? Yeah, we'll get it. Yeah, we'll write for the grant and we'll have that
Yeah,
done. We'll
for
have that.
sure.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's really a lot.
Yeah, I just think it's a lot of feelings. I'm feeling more. I'm also not like drinking or partaking in any extracurricular activities like I used to, and that feels okay. And I'm just honoring that. I don't like feeling like shit anymore. And even one of my dogs is in hospice right now, and it's been really, really
Mm.
tough. And it's my first fur baby, the whole thing. And uh, my daughter was on spring break and we were on vacation, and I took just like half of a little gummy just to like relax by the pool. And I just was I was like, oh, and it was nothing. It was like 2 milligrams, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just felt my anxiety and I felt all of these things bubble up. And I was just like, I don't need to, I feel like my body is genuinely rejecting. I feel like I always joke that like I feel like we're Benjamin Buttoning, we're turning back into babies. We can't eat the same foods. Like there's a lot of things that are gingerly happening, and we have to just take such better care of ourselves, not just out of necessity to survive and last longer.
yeah. What
So,
about irritability and anger?
that's something I've struggled with my whole life. I think I was raised to suppress anger a lot.
Oh,
Um, I don't know if it's because I meditate a lot or what. I don't think I lash out or have but when I do, my daughter lets me know, like, that really scared me when if I've lost my patience after the 100th time of saying you need to empty your backpack because now there's a 7-day fucking old Caesar salad stinking up the whole
yeah.
house in your backpack because we've been on spring break, stuff
And
like that.
there's that permission slip. Thanks.
Yeah, right.
Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I internalize it, but sure, yeah. I've also noticed I feel like I don't know if it's irritability, but I feel like I've had to talk myself off the ledge of
Mm.
having panic attacks for the
Yeah.
first time. And I'm not somebody that has experience with panic attacks, so I'm just assuming that that's what it is, where I'll be somewhere and something will trigger it, whether I'm overwhelmed or I don't know how to solve a problem that's happening. And it's almost like the tingle in my whole body. And I just think like, oh my God, am I going to have to go to the hospital right now? Or am I going to have to leave this situation immediately? Like I've definitely and I had my very first migraine.
Wow.
And that was bizarre and scary. And I felt like I was going to throw up. And I was driving and I could feel it building. Like, and it was an emotional day. So I'm
Yeah.
sure that contributed to it, but I could feel it building. And at one point, I was on the freeway driving with my daughter. And I thought, what happens if I have to throw up? It was that kind of nagging pain. And I was like, will my eyes close? Will I get in a car accident? It was just a scary, and again, something that I've never, and I'm assuming it's part of the aging process.
That is part of perimenopause that can happen. Like there are the kind of standard things that we think of with night sweats and hot flashes and body aches, mood changes, lower libido, or like not as intense orgasm. Um, but then there's like ringing in ears and headaches and itchy ears. Yeah.
Ringing. Yesterday, I had ringing, and it was all in, that saying, left out of love, right out of spite. So luckily, all day it was in my left. But yeah,
I've
every now
never
and
heard
again,
that.
just a ringing. Yeah.
I've never heard
You
that.
never
So
heard
it's
that? I feel
what?
like it's some weird old wives' tale or whatever.
So left if your ear is ringing.
So that means someone's talking about you in a good way, and
Okay.
right, it's out of spite. So someone's talking shit about you if it's out of your right ear.
Motherfuckers.
Is it your right ear all the time?
So what's next for you? What are you thinking? Like how do you want to what is the thing that you look forward to with aging?
Hmm.
And what do you look forward to as far as the next evolution of Monica?
Hmm. I look forward to maybe growing up more in terms of just being more caring to myself and to my body instead of operating in old ways or old habits and patterns. I feel like that's like something I'm trying to work towards, I guess being kinder to myself and to other people and just I want to grow older gracefully. And I guess what I mean by that is continuing to improve my life, just always kind of elevating my experience or my happiness a little bit more. And I'm also excited just to see what life turns out like for my daughter.
Yeah.
I love, that's one of the things I love is watching her experience everything. So I feel like I'm just sort of I'm binge watching this amazing show every day that is her life. And then next for me, well, what I would like to happen, I know what I'd like to happen. I'd
Yeah.
love to have a show about divorce party. I'd love to, act more and produce more. And I really just want to, one thing I never really did as a kid was travel very much around the world and places. And I want to do that more as I get older. I know that sounds so cliche, but I want to do that thing where almost you just spin the globe, pick a spot and go, okay, that's
Yeah.
where we're gonna go. I don't
I
know.
love that. I love that.
Simple.
Yeah, it is. But sometimes that's all what are you gonna what, go back to school and become a physicist, like
Oh,
a physicist?
right.
Right?
No,
I mean, I guess some people do that
some
shit.
people might.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's exhausting.
Yeah, I'm done. The fact that
Yeah.
I have to get up every day and drive my daughter to school is me going back to school.
Yeah. Yeah, that must be
That-
really rough, right?
right?
Like
It
that's how it is in
is.
California,
Yeah.
right? People have to
Yeah.
like
First school starts at 8:15. And I have to wake her up at the latest 7 because I have to drive her to the bus stop because you can't drive them into the school. It's like a whole thing. And so I know me, I need like a dash of peace and quiet to myself in the morning. So I have to get up at 5:50
wow.
every
Wait a
day.
minute. You can't drive them up to the school?
No, it's a whole dumb LA story. Yeah.
And that's
Traffic.
how all the schools are?
Not all the schools, but her school.
And then a bus takes them
A
how far?
bus takes them half a mile to the school because the school's in a residential area. And so the neighbors are the people that live on the street. And I'm kind of like, well, fuck you. You bought a house on a street where there's a school. Deal with it.
They would be screwed if they lived here.
Yeah. So it's definitely, and then, I've got the 2 dogs. And so it's a lot.
So let me just ask,
Yeah.
really, I'm curious, is your dog, so does somebody come for the hospice or is the dog in
Oh,
actual hospice?
when I say hospice, it just means I found out that she has cancer and it's very far along. And so there's, it's pointless to try to
So you're just
operate.
making her
So I'm
comfortable.
just making her comfortable, but we're definitely, the doctor, I was like, I'm so optimistic. I'm like, what do we have? Like months? And she's like, weeks. And here's some pain meds and some things. And we're at the point where, today she reluctantly ate some of her food. And so I'm just like, oh, it's coming.
Yeah, that's really rough.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's definitely interesting to talk to your child about death and all of that. And she had a good cry, and it was funny how she was like, "Mommy, please don't cry." And I said, "I'm so sorry, but I have to, and I'm probably gonna cry a lot because I have to get it out. It's not healthy if I don't."
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
it's moving through grief is
yeah.
so important. And I think
Yeah.
it's really important for kids to see that, honestly.
Yeah. I think it will be harder on her dad and I because we've had that dog for almost 14 years. Um, but yeah, it's going to teach her some lesson because I didn't experience a pet dying as a kid. So yeah, I mean, she's, you know,
She's never experienced anyone from your family passing.
no.
So this
And
will be her first loss.
yeah, this will be her first experience with that. And I'm going through all those scenarios, like, when it does happen, if it's by choice, by us having to have someone come and do it, do I ask her if she'd like to be there? I love to include her in things, and she's almost 10, so I don't think I could be like, I feel like how things would be dealt with in my house is you come home and it's like, hey, we put your cat down.
Yeah.
We didn't tell you, we didn't ask you, and that was like really traumatic. So I feel like I'm definitely gonna say, if the time comes and if we have the choice, like this is gonna happen and this is what's gonna happen. And if you want to be there, you can be there. And if you don't, I respect that. And, you know, how can I help you?
I think, having three kids and the two oldest ones have experienced the loss of first my father, and now the other grandfather has passed as well. And so they went to my uncle's, you know, I think it's important for kids to actually be a part of it and be a
Yeah.
part of death because it is part of life, and we can't pretend that it's life is hard, and these kids are like living through some really hard shit. They are
Yeah.
living through some really, really hard shit. I remember we were watching a movie during the pandemic, and my daughter said, like, why don't they have masks on? It was like an old movie. She's like, why aren't they wearing
Oh,
masks? Right. So it's like that's the thing. Like there was a part of these young people, 9-year-old, 8-year-old, a
yeah.
couple of years ago where they thought like everyone wore masks. And to see it in an old movie, they're like, oh, this is not the norm. This is not normal.
Yeah.
Right? Standing in line at the grocery store, like,
Yeah. No,
this is,
it's crazy. And I feel also too as an adult, I mean, knock on wood, I've been so lucky. I have not had to experience any sort of death. I mean, I think since I was 15 when my grandmother died, really. I mean, I don't. So I'm just in it and it's happening. And, I'll obviously learn something from it too.
yeah. Um, Yeah, I love talking about death and I love talking about sex. Those are my
Me
two
too.
favorite things to talk about.
Me too.
Sex and death. It's
Right.
another
That's
doesn't
your
get
second podcast.
yeah, yeah. Let's talk about death.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much. Okay, so how do people find you?
So I'm on Instagram and it's the Monika Casey. It's Monica with a K and Casey with a C.
All right. And then they can, if they have
Oh yeah,
series,
on Sirius XM, I
right?
do Jeff Lewis live sometimes, and sometimes I do Jeff Lewis extended. And then my podcast is Divorce Party, and that's anywhere you can listen to podcasts. And we have experts and regular people just telling their stories and sharing about divorce.
Yay. And
Yeah,
I always, I love talking about divorce. I think
you
it's
were
such a,
such a great guest. Oh
oh,
my gosh. So
thanks.
good.
All right. Anything else you want to say? Anything you want to ask? Anything you want to know?
Is my uterus gonna fall out of my vagina?
No.
Okay,
Oh,
good. I mean,
no. So here's the thing. Is is it falling down? Was there any prolapse at all?
no, no,
Okay.
but I just have heard those stories and the
Yeah.
ER, the scary ER stories. Now I'm fine.
Yeah. So
Just
so here's the thing. Do you sneeze, laugh, pee?
uh-uh.
Excellent.
So keep
So for
doing Kegels, even though I never do them, and I do them maybe like twice a year. When right before I'm about to fall asleep, I go, I should be doing those.
although for some people, and I don't think it's you, right? But for some people like myself, I have to do reverse Kegels. So I was once on this board of like a Kegel product,
Yeah.
and these physiotherapists came on and they were talking about how about 86% of the women that come to them with like urinary leakage, that
Mhm.
whole thing, they actually have something called hypertonic pelvises. So basically, it's like you're making a muscle. I don't know if you could see
Uh,
this because I turn off myself,
yep.
right? You're making a muscle all the time. Like there's so much tension right there in your pelvic floor. And so
Okay.
you go to the doctor, they stick their fingers in and they're like, squeeze, right? And then they're like, oh, do your Kegels. But if you make a muscle, right? And then you
Yeah.
try and make a harder muscle, you can't. And you seem like you're weak. But actually, you're so tight and tense all the time that maybe you've got constipation issues. When you sneeze, you laugh, you cough.
Maybe that's why my baby didn't come out and I had to get a C-section.
No, no, but no, I don't know. You're a
True.
runner.
True.
No, I don't. I mean,
No,
if you have constipation, we could talk
I'm
about that another
joking.
time.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and a lot of folks need to do the opposite. Now, when we're going through perimenopause and menopause, especially as we get closer to that one day. So menopause
Yeah.
is one day, right? It's like 365 days, no period. The next day you're postmenopausal. So, the thing is that because we have estrogen all throughout our bodies, what'll happen is that we'll start to lose lubrication. All of a sudden, women start to think they have yeast infections, urinary tract infections, all of these things, when really they just need vaginal estrogen.
Mm,
And then like the vaginal estrogen like pops, like it just like makes everything juicy and like come alive again. But your uterus will probably not fall out because it's already not prolapsing. There
got it.
is also something called rectocele and cystocele where the walls of the vagina
Yeah.
start to become like not as like ridgy, right? And like keep their shape. And I
Mhm.
don't like to think of like tight pussies because, and I'm gonna just tell you like a
Yeah.
little word to the wise. When we're having sex, right? Our whole vagina expands like without us knowing, and it balloons out in order
Mhm.
to like make space. So like if baby batter goes in there, like the whole space is filled with baby batter.
Yeah.
So this whole concept of like having a tight pussy kind of
Mhm.
situation is just
Yeah.
bullshit. So, but when we are going through hormonal changes, or sometimes for some of us who, having lots of vaginal babies, that kind of those ridges that happen in the vagina, they become a little less ridgy and
Mhm.
there's less elasticity.
Got
And
it.
sometimes the bowel can like kind of fall into the vagina and the bladder can fall
Oh.
into the vagina. And some women will actually have to like stick their fingers in their vagina to like push the doo-doo out.
No.
Poor babies. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
I'm
deep. And they've had
we
like
we get
lots of,
the worst of it. Women,
it's
oh,
not easy. It's not easy being us. It's not
it's
easy having
really not.
this situation happening. But, even for women who are suffering with that or having that discomfort,
Mhm.
there's so many things that you can do to help and
Yeah.
support. But just an FYI, your uterus will not fall out,
Okay, good.
okay? And just for anyone who's listening who's like, yeah, but I've been doing Kegels forever and nothing's helping, you probably need to do a reverse Kegel and you need to relax all of it.
Okay.
Relax it, let it go, let it flow, shake your hips, move them around,
Like sit in a squat,
sit in a
maybe. I don't
squat,
know.
do like I love that naughty girl fitness thing. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. Like, or when you're sitting on the toilet, use the squatty potty and then do
I love a squatty potty.
squatty potty is awesome, but then you have to, because if you do that, try it. Try it right now. Try and
With my mouth or my
yeah,
vagina?
with your mouth.
Yeah.
Right now, try and do a Kegel while you do it. You can't, it's hard.
I
It's a little bit,
did. Well, I could
you
only hold
did,
one.
right. But it's a little bit harder, right?
Oh, yeah. We have to think about it.
You have to really think about
Yeah.
it. But if you like you just let it go, then you can feel everything kind of release down there. Do you feel it?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I used to be a doula before I was a nurse. And
Um,
so I used to have men do that too, male partners, like,
yeah.
especially if they are constipated, right? Because you can't like it all loosens. Okay.
I
Anyway,
love it.
there you go.
I love it all.
So there you go. There's less. Your uterus will stay inside. So, yay.
A win
All
for
right.
the day.
Yeah. Woo. All right. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
See ya. Thank
Bye.
you again. Bye. If this podcast is helping you, please subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and leave a review. You can write in with questions at hello@ageless.co, and I'll answer them on the podcast. If you want clarity on your aging journey, you can book a private session with me on my website, ageless.co. That's AGELUST.co. We're on all the podcast platforms as well as YouTube and Instagram. Links are in the show notes.